Today we're getting a little up close and personal because I'm doing some DIY gray toned paper. I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to try. So I was scouring the internet last night for a very specific tidbit of information and ended up running across something about using charcoal to tone your paper before doing pencil crayon work. Now, they didn't supply any examples or work in progress shots of this thing, but I thought it was kind of an interesting idea, and I want to try toned paper, but due to lockdown currently, I can't really go out and purchase anything at the moment, so I am going to try and use this to get toned paper and see if it's something that I actually want to use for my art in the future. One of the appeals that makes people turn to toned paper is the fact that it really helps you to bring out the shadows but also the highlights in some artwork, which I am very interested in improving my highlights and my shadows because I'm pretty good at the middle range stuff, but as soon as I get into the highlights and the shadows, everything seems to just be a little unnatural and muddy. So what I have here today to do this is a piece of paper from my Canson mixed media sketchbook because I really like this paper. I don't know if Canson does a toned paper in this style, but if they do, it's definitely what I'm going to go for. I've got myself a little candle holder, which is actually going to be my mortar, basically. I don't know what I'm going to use for a pestle, but we'll find out. I also have a soft bristle paintbrush, which I'm actually going to use to apply and smooth out the gray tone on the paper. And then I have some paper towel to help me remove any excess, as much excess as I can. And then, of course, I got these little teeny charcoal sticks. It's literally just straight up wooden dowel that was burnt to a crisp. So it's 100% fully charcoal with no wood, no additives or anything, which I think is perfect for this, so I'm not adding any wax or whatever to the page. Of course, the difference between this kind of toning your paper and normal toned paper is this can be erased. So if I happen to use an eraser on the page, it will probably remove all of the toning that I've done, which is not favorable. And normal toned paper, I'm pretty sure, is actually the fibers are dyed rather than the paper being treated afterwards. So the paper is actually toned all the way through and not just on the surface, but in a pinch, maybe this will work. I'm about to find out. Off to experimenting. On the blog post that I found, there were no exact instructions on how to do this. It basically just said, apply your brush to charcoal powder. So I imagine you can probably buy charcoal powder for art-related stuff. But I don't have charcoal powder, so I'm just going to use the butt end of the screwdriver. If this doesn't work, I'll find some sandpaper and try it that way. I have more than enough little pieces of charcoal to use for this. This one's actually quite bent. Looks like it wanted to break. So I'll put that aside. I'm just going to crush up this charcoal. Maybe. Oh yeah. Oh, that looks like it's crushing up nicely. Sweet. Honestly, I would prefer to use something square so I could just have all the powder sit in the corner there and just push down on it. I guess at this point I could probably use the butt end of the paintbrush because it's smaller. Yeah, that seems to be working. That's seemingly pretty ground up, and I guess now is really the time for me to actually do this, I guess. So I'm going to first kind of test on the paper towel. That actually looks like it's toning it quite well. So I guess I'm just gonna really saturate this brush in charcoal. Try not to breathe any of this powder in and just tone the paper. It's a bit uneven, but I mean it's toning it. This is I feel like to anyone who wants toned paper, this might be a little bit too much work for them, but it's an interesting concept. Basically, the brush helps kind of spread the charcoal powder around, and the paper towel is supposed to help you really blend it through the paper and kind of get it everywhere. I'm just gonna dump the charcoal powder onto the paper and just move it around. It's probably a bad idea, but there weren't any real instructions on how to do this, so I'm just kind of doing whatever I think's gonna work, and if it doesn't work, then it's really on me. I'm using circular motions because it does actually seem to apply more of the charcoal to it. I want to say pigment, but I don't really think that charcoal particulates count as a pigment. Or maybe they do. Maybe they do. Ooh, that seems to work. I was using just the bristles, but it seems to work really well if I put the brush flat to the paper and just push side to side. Okay, I think that I've spread enough onto the paper that I could actually like use the paper towel to push it around a bit more. So I'm going to fold this up into like a square, or a very, very, very tiny square, and just kind of like rub this around. This is flat, and I'm putting more firm pressure on it, so it might actually put the charcoal deeper into the tooth of the paper. Now, one of my biggest concerns is because it wasn't really like inserted into the paper, this might not hold very well. But my other thought was that this paper it's mixed media paper. I've done watercolor on this paper, and like the paper buckles, but then it debuckles when it's done. And I'm wondering if I were to dust this with water and brush it around, maybe the pigment from the charcoal would actually like stain the paper and I wouldn't have to worry about so much. So I need to go find myself a spray bottle of some kind. So I couldn't find my mister for some reason, but I thought of something that might also work, and that is a damp sponge. It's flat, it's soft. I don't know how it's going to react to this paper, but we're going to... It didn't do anything terrible yet. Okay, there's some water. It's actually... Ooh, this is actually like brown charcoal. Now again, I didn't know if this was going to work or not. And it doesn't look like it's very attractive. This might have been a bad idea. Now this is not incredibly attractive. However, I'm going to make an art piece out of this, because that's some interesting shapeage going on there. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this sit here, probably face down, no, maybe face up, with something heavy and flat on it, because it will debuckle as it dries, but I want to make sure it dries as flat as possible. And then I'm going to return to this, and we're going to see what kind of art I can make with this, because I'm already seeing possible trees in the background for all these really thick streaks going upwards, and I'm seeing possibly a tree or some kind of creature. And I mean, I don't know if anyone else is seeing anything here, but I'm seeing some sort of forest landscape, or just, I don't know, something. I don't know. Even possibly this way. Even this way it could be something. Basically, I'm going to let it dry, and then I'm going to like go through all the ideas that I have here, but I'm actually really, really kind of liking this orientation for it. Meaning this the bottom, this the top. That kind of has an interesting look to it. I mean, it's almost artistic on its own, but I'm going to touch it up with some pencil crayon, because, yeah.
Hello, YouTube. This is my channel now.
Did you just try to lick the camera lens from a distance? You're so weird. Alrighty, so I've let it sit for about 30 minutes. I forgot to put something on top of it, so the paper did curve quite a bit, but a lot of the high spots and the buckles are gone, other than at the top of the page where there was a lot of moisture. But that doesn't matter to me. If this turns out really well, I'm going to probably frame it, which means it'll be pushed flat and you won't really see any of that stuff. And despite the fact that my experiment kind of failed and I didn't create toned paper necessarily, I think I might be able to get a pretty cool art piece out of this anyways. So I suppose it's time I change the camera angle up so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better and get to work. I actually ended up changing my mind. Because it was an experiment with charcoal, I thought it only fitting to use charcoal to complete the piece. And charcoal's one of those things that I have very little experience with. I've sketched with charcoal before as if it was a normal pencil, but I didn't really do any blending, and a lot of it was just aimless doodles. Despite that, I've actually watched a lot of other people work with charcoal and have picked up some techniques and ideas that I thought this would be a good opportunity to test those out. As I got deeper and deeper into the piece, I started regretting using charcoal because I was certain it wasn't going to turn out very good and I would have wasted a really great opportunity to create something amazing. I've always had issues with self-confidence, but over the last few years, I've decided to start training myself to not necessarily ignore the negative thoughts, but prove them wrong, because at the end of the day, giving up is the only thing that truly makes you a failure. And so I pushed through the negative thoughts and doubts and ended up creating something that I'm actually extremely proud of. Here I am, 5 minutes after finishing the piece, in a bit of disbelief, wondering how I could possibly have done something like this. I know that it's not photorealistic or really professional, and there's probably a lot of stuff that I could have done better. But given the fact that I've had these ideas and techniques in the back of my mind and have never really put them to the test, and this is my first time actually doing that, I think it turned out pretty incredible. Like I said earlier in the video, where I might frame it, I'm 100% gonna frame it and put it up in my room. Not only because I'm proud of it and I think it's really cool looking, but it'll also be a forever reminder to me that just because I doubt myself doesn't mean I'm going to fail. Because again, failure is only real when you give up on yourself. And as long as you try, even if it's not a complete success by the end of it, the fact that you didn't give up means that you're not a failure. And now that all the sappy stuff is out of the way, I've been Dragon Boy, and you have been incredible for sitting through this experiment with me. Now before I go, there are 2 people that are no longer around that I really want to thank for my ability to push past the lack of self-confidence and the doubts in myself, because my ability to do so is a direct result of the support and love that they gave me when they were around. And so I urge you, if there are people like that in your life who support you, make sure they know that they are appreciated. And vice versa, if there are people in your life that are passionate about something creative and trying to get better at anything, whether it's better at being themselves, better at art, better at playing guitar, doesn't matter. Make sure that they know you believe in them, because even though it may not seem like they appreciate it sometimes, often the struggles of life can make it hard for them. Anxiety as well and depression can make it really hard for them to show their appreciation. But I assure you, speaking from confidence, even though you may not be the best at showing appreciation, it doesn't mean that you don't appreciate a person. So go out there, spread some love, dream big, and help a fellow passionate person out. Give them some support, some love, and let them know they're appreciated. And without further ado, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.